Hello, dear students. Welcome to this session. In this session, let us understand what are polar covalent compounds and let us also understand polar covalent bonds. Before understanding what are polar covalent bonds, let us understand what is electronegativity. It is nothing but electronegativity is nothing but the ability of an atom to attract a shared pair of electrons towards itself. That means, let us take now an example of carbon and hydrogen. So, you know that carbon has 4 valence electrons, correct? And hydrogen has 1 valence electron. And the bond which is formed between them is the covalent bond now. So now the atoms which is having the higher electronegativity have more capacity to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself. That means hydrogen is having only one electron. It can easily now have a sharing with carbon, and this carbon is having 4 valence electron. It needs 4 more electrons, correct? It has higher side of electronegativity, and as a result of this, now this carbon has the ability to attract the shared pair of electrons towards itself. I'll give you one more example to understand better. See, if the atoms forming a covalent bond have the different electronegativities, the atom with the higher electronegativity pulls the shared pair of electrons towards itself. So let us understand this by taking an example of molecule of water. The water molecule contains 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. Correct? And you know the valency of oxygen is 6 and the valency of hydrogen is 1. So here, as oxygen is having 6 valence electron, it need only 2 electrons. It need only 2. So here, oxygen is having higher electronegativity. And when I talk about hydrogen, it need only one more electron. As it is already having one electron, it need only one more electron. Correct? It is having the lower electronegativity. The reason which I am going to tell you this because, see, they have difference in their electronegativities. Because here, if you look at the oxygen, it need only 2 electrons. Here, hydrogen need 1 electron. There is difference in electronegativity. And here, as oxygen need 2 electrons and as it is also having 6 valence electrons, its electronegativity is higher compared to the hydrogen. So oxygen pulls the electrons of hydrogen towards itself. I repeat, see, oxygen has 6 valence electrons. It pulls the valence electrons from the hydrogen towards itself. The reason is oxygen is having higher electronegativity. Clear? Oxygen is having higher electronegativity. So oxygen pulls the electrons from the hydrogen. Thereby, they share the electrons and the bond formed between them is the covalent bond. It forms the covalent bond. Clear? Now next let us understand the next point of this polar covalent compounds. That is, if the atom with the higher electronegativity develops a partial negative charge, then atoms with the lower electronegativity develops a partial positive charge. To understand this, please remember NaCl. What happened in the case of NaCl? Sodium donates 1 electron, thereby it creates a positive charge. Chlorine receives 1 electron, thereby it develops a negative charge. Similarly, when we look at the molecule of water, it has 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. Here, as oxygen needs 2 electrons, it develops a partial negative charge. And also, by now you have understood oxygen has higher electronegativity. Correct? So now the atom with the higher electronegativity has the partial negative charge, and the atom with the lower electronegativity, that is the hydrogen, it has the partial positive charge. Correct? Oxygen has the negative charge and hydrogen has the partial positive charge, and the bond formed between them is the covalent bond, and this covalent bond have some polarity. It has some polarity, because polarity means it is all about now charges. Correct. If you look at the water molecule here, you can see that, see, hydrogen is just giving one electron. It is giving the electron. Here it is sharing, but when we look at the polarity, it is having one electron on its shell, so it is easy to donate for it. So its electrons are more attracted towards the oxygen. As oxygen has 6 electrons, it need only 2, and its electronegativity is high, correct? And it needs 2 more electrons, and it develops the partial negative charge. Oxygen develops the partial negative charge. So here the electrons found on both the hydrogen and oxygen are having some kind of charges, that is partial negative charge and partial positive charge. It is all again depend on the electronegativity. If the electronegativity is more, then it is having partial negative charge. If the electronegativity is less, then it has a partial positive charge. Clear? And also please remember, when I say electronegativity, it means they will pull the electrons from the opposite atoms. When I say electronegativity, see, when I talk about oxygen is having more electronegativity, it pulls the electrons from the opposite atoms. Electronegativity is all about pulling the electrons towards itself. Clear? In my next video, let us understand the allotropes of carbon. Thank you.